the cosmos, being the stars, knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's a plan, but...
And I think, well, that's the thing. Is there a plan? But it certainly acts as if it knows what it's doing. And that, for me, what's important is to have that cosmology to help when I start going into that catastrophe mindset.
Right.
That's the spiritual challenge, I think,
Yeah.
is how to live in what we have created for ourselves, what evolution has created for itself. That really feels hard sometimes. It's hard to be in our cultures of modern mind.
But our cultures are such a divorced from the natural cycle.
Yes.
And of course,
which is a dysfunctional, for me, I see that as a dysfunction that creates that dissonance, that stress, that then out of that comes creation we can't even begin to.
Right, so that's why we need the new story to
Yes.
create a new culture that puts us in harmony.
Yes.
But the problem I think that we've had in our culture is that science has overridden the hard questions. You know, there are three basic hard questions. How did the universe begin? How did life begin? And how did intelligent life begin? Those are the three questions that science does not know, and they're called the hard questions of science. So I say, and I think it's what you're saying, that life is an emergent property.
It is.
And the universe is an emergent property of beingness, and intelligence is an emergent property of life.
Yes.
So if we take those as assumptions, what is the new story you want to build from what you're saying, the mystery, the unfathomable?
Well, the story that Planetary Mind is telling is that the creative force of the infinite. I want to remember this. The creative force of the infinite flows throughout and embraces the universe, whole and complete, ever creative, ever destructive, as it seizes catastrophe to create anew, as it yearns for ever greater order, ever greater complexity, ever greater consciousness, ever greater elegance, as it drives itself toward life. And we are thus made in the likeness of the infinite. We are this creative force of the infinite manifest in the form
We are
of
the
human
infinite.
being.
We're not only the likeness, but the form, the essence of that infinite.
Including the shadow side. Including that which we in times even denigrate, like we don't want to be that way.
Right.
But that is part of being human, and by definition is part of what the universe does. Which is an interesting concept when you're going through the hard part of the city, in the hard part of the Bronx, or the hard part of south of San Francisco, and see what the built environment has done, what we've done. It's part of the process, and it's mind blowing.
It's part of the process. So this destructive nature, as you call it, is part of the process.
Yeah, you cannot have creation without destruction.
But can we lift up humanity so we can be more a dynamic equilibrium?
I think it's happening. I think that is what's happening as Planetary Mind is coming into being.
Right.
Our circles, I can't remember the name of the author, but there was an author who wrote a book called The Circles of Compassion. And that's one of the things that is a very positive thing about modern mind, or the modern worldview, is that out of that we still have included greater and greater circles of who we take care of. And I remember reading a particular piece where the abolitionists in England were some of the first people in modern civilizations to work on behalf of people they would never see. They would never see many of those slaves.
That's great.
And those circles of compassion have gotten larger and larger and larger, in spite of what we see in the modern mind's media.
No, I appreciate that, and you're right, and we are becoming a more compassionate culture, for sure. That's our evolution. But I want to ask you a question I've been thinking about for a long time. So we take the universe, we take the cosmos, we take all those infinite number of galaxies, or nearly infinite number of galaxies, that are just full of creation and mass and stardust and
dark matter.
But it's not alive in the sense that biology is alive. It may be alive in some other sense, but if the universe is, let's say, consciousness, where does all that non-biological creation fit into what we're calling the holy universe or the live universe? Can you explain that?
I don't know if I...
Because I have an answer if you don't have an answer, but I mean,
well,
I have an idea.
where does it fit in?
But it's so it's most of the universe.
Oh yeah.
Is that?
Yes.
It's very little.
It is, for me, and this gets into one piece that I really love in this book that, again, came to me, that talks about what is the smallest vessel that can hold a human being. And when you look at it, it seems like all of that out there has nothing to do with us.
Exactly,
and
my
yet,
friend.
it has everything to do with us, because without all that, we could not have had a universe that then created galaxies, that then created stars, that then created second-generation stars, that then created planets, life, the web of life, and then us. That's all integral.
Okay, so let me see if I get what you're saying. So you're saying all those massive galaxies and those nebulae and the hundreds of thousands of light years of just light, maybe with no biology or maybe with some biology, is in a sense the hardware that houses the formation of consciousness coming into being.
Yes.
Like we need all those factories building computers, but we need it's all for the facilitation of consciousness and communication.
Yes.
And without those factories and those hardware, we wouldn't have the technological age. So the cosmos and the nebulae of creation are the foundation and the building blocks for the conscious exchange of life form to experience itself as God. Something like that.
And for me, I don't know that consciousness really, is the universe conscious in a certain way?
Is it? Well, you just
I
told me. I thought
well,
you told me it contemplated itself and created.
As if it knew what it was doing.
Exactly.
And to be fully honest, it's a mystery to me. I don't know. And I don't know that we can know through words. I think this is something that we can know perhaps through experience.
Well, I don't think it knows. When you say no, we're putting a very human projection.
Yes.
I think the universe creates without knowing in the most optimum sequence of unfolding. I mean, you should have a conversation with Howard Bloom. Do you know who he is? He's very much along these lines.
Yeah.
He uses the whole example of like coming to catastrophe with the CO2 and not knowing what to do with the poison that oxygen is, and saying there was this inventive force of nature that says we're going to create oxygen-breathing organisms. It's that simple. But no one knew that. But the universe, or the consciousness of the universe, I think knows without knowing. I think there's facility. I don't think we could even call it knowing. But I think life, in a sense, is forever. I think consciousness unfolds as the holy universe, and that is the new story that I'm glad you wrote.
Yeah, and I think for me also a very important part of this book is the second part, where we talk about so what. What is this evolutionary story? We talked earlier about that, what this evolutionary story has to tell us. What are the stories of modern mind that are ruling us now that need to be examined? And how do they interact with the small personal stories that we tell ourselves?
So what are the stories of modern mind?
Some of them, one of the sections is called reverent technology. That how do we decide to create a particular technology? Right now, modern mind does it primarily through what will make money. And that is a structure.
I don't necessarily agree.
Not always.
I think modern mind does it as inventiveness, and then someone says how we're going to make money on that. But I think...
But widespread technology, the widespread application of technology. There are always people who would love to invent for the invention's sake.
Yeah, but people are gravitated to like an iPhone not because they want to make someone else money, but it's a tool that facilitates what they think is the next level of communication.
Yes, however, there is that idea of we need to make money with this.
Yeah,
you could not have iPhones.
But it wouldn't make money if there wasn't a need that maybe the need is created.
The need is,
fabricated.
I think,